This is from Justin to Kane, a podcast where Mike Robertson and Bob LaRue watch one critically acclaimed film and one terrible film and talk about how they are the same. Okay, welcome everybody, and welcome to From Justin to Kane. I'm Bob.
I'm Mike.
This week, what are the movies, Mike?
So we did a brand new movie. Came out literally a week ago, maybe. Space Jam: A New Legacy, starring LeBron James, King James, to the sports fans out there. And the other movie was called Infernal Affairs, which came out what year, Bob? Do you remember?
2002.
2002. Okay, yeah. So there you go.
Yep.
That's
great. Really strong stuff.
Oh, killer intro.
Wow.
Killer intro.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good.
So Space Jam: A New Legacy, the sequel to Space Jam, and Infernal Affairs, which is just sounds like a random movie, but this is a important film, if only because it was the inspiration for the film The Departed by Martin Scorcese, or Marty, as I call him.
Or as a lot of cinephiles seem to address him now. Oh, well, this is not... So I guess LeBron is called the GOAT of basketball, and Scorsese is called the GOAT of cinema.
Well, there you go. There's a similarity right there.
There's a similarity, a real diluted one, because there's a whole movie in between the two similarities that we're just not discussing, which is Infernal Affairs.
Yeah.
But whatever. Also, Tony Leung is like the GOAT, of Hong Kong cinema. Guy's so fucking good.
So is Andy Lau.
Yeah, he's fucking great.
So that was something I learned because I had never seen an Andy Lau film before. I don't think.
Well, this was his first film of the 21st century, too.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, and that was like a big deal, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's a similarity right there. I mean, Andy Lau also is supposedly a pretty big Chinese pop star.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I
should know that, shouldn't I?
I don't know, whatever. But this is like him and LeBron are like kind of hyphenate actors, multi-hyphenate actors.
Oh yeah, I guess music career, film producer, actor. Yeah, he's done a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
No sports though.
No.
Oh wow. Andy Lau has a great six-pack, and I bet LeBron James does too.
I bet he does.
I'm looking at a crazy photo. This guy is shredded. He's skinny ripped, like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah, I do. I've seen that film.
Anyways, sick. Okay, cool. Oh, he's also an author.
What?
Yeah. He's written and published 2 books. An autobiography, and then a collection of diaries called My 30 Work Days.
Okay, so he is a super multi-hyphenate then.
Yeah, they both are. They're both really cool people.
Wait, you saying LeBron is?
LeBron's cool, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's like an entrepreneur as well as a basketball player. And I think he does a lot of philanthropy too.
LeBron?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. He has his own film company right now.
They're both very, multi-talented, cool people. Anyways, I was going to say the first similarity is that these are both like... they're both related to like a sequel that's more spiritual than literal.
Oh yeah, right.
Infernal Affairs inspired The Departed, and Space Jam: A New Legacy is not a sequel. It's like a reimagining of the original Space Jam.
Yes, but they also constantly address the fact that it's a sequel too.
But like plot-wise, it's not. They don't reference the game from the first film or anything.
They do a couple of times.
Do they?
Yeah, there's a couple of times where Bugs Bunny looks at the camera and says, "This is familiar, Doc."
Yeah, but it's like...
not his words, that was a paraphrase.
Yeah, it's just not like... I don't know, they're just different movie. It's weird.
Yeah, but I think
normally
also...
a sequel has to like... There are repercussions from the first film that are felt in the second film, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's none of that in this.
Actually, I'll disagree with you there because when LeBron first meets Bugs, he's in Toon World, and Toon World is like a desolate wasteland, kind of like all of the other toons have disappeared.
Yeah.
So that's a spoiler alert.
But that has nothing to do with the first movie.
I thought it did.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't think so.
I also think that trying to parse the logic of the Space Jam universe is a fool's errand. So,
is it not a fool's errand to do this podcast at all, Mike?
I mean, no, this is the definition of a fool's errand for sure.
Yeah, so let's double down on the foolishness, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I'm on board.
Anyways, let's talk about Space Jam.
Sure. Okay, I can drop some Space Jam facts.
Start jamming.
I was disappointed, first of all, to see that they did not make Space Jam 2 a New Legacy website in the style of the original Space Jam website. Have you ever been to that website?
No. Should I go there now?
Well, I mean, if you go to spacejam.com/1996, they have preserved the original website, I think, just because of the memes. Because up until this movie came out, the original website was still on the internet in its original kind of crappy GeoCities form.
Website, spacejam.com/1996. Oh, I'm on it.
Yeah. That's what it looked like until recently.
Planet B-Ball, Lunar Tunes, Jump Station, Warner Studio Store, Behind the Jam, Sitemap, Stellar Souvenirs, and Junior Jam.
Yeah, this was when like a website was like just kind of an afterthought.
Holy shit. I didn't even click on something and it just went there. Holy fuck. This is mesmerizing.
Yeah. So that's a thing. I was disappointed that they did not make a new website in that style. They actually have like a fancy Flash or whatever the new Flash is. HTML5, I guess. Yeah, so the new website is flashy. It's not crappy like the old one, and that's disappointing.
You would think that Warner Brothers would be self-aware enough to be like, let's turn this into a bit.
You'd think, well, I mean, the fact that they preserved it means that they had some self-awareness to it, but yeah, they should have just done, that would have been a baller move.
Baller.
A literal baller move, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, this is crazy. This is like so janky to navigate too. Janky.
Yeah. It is pretty janky, yeah. There's a lot of jank.
Jankin'.
So anyway.
Wow, this is so fun.
So Space Jam: A New Legacy, that's the actual title of the film, was directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who directed Scary Movie 5, Undercover Brother with Eddie Griffin, and Girls Trip, which is actually a pretty good, funny movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, so when I saw the Space Jam was being directed by this person, I was like, okay, this could be pretty good. But then I looked into the rest of his movies. It's like, okay, no, never mind. But so this has been in development pretty much since the original one came out. They were going to make a Space Jam 2, and then after Looney Tunes Back in Action came out, and it did so poorly, they were like, maybe we'll just put the Looney Tunes away for a while, because the excitement over the Looney Tunes was probably more related to Michael Jordan and the soundtrack to Space Jam than it was to just seeing the Looney Tunes on a movie screen.
I also just want to put this out there. I watched the original about a year ago, and I had never seen it before, and it's not a good film. No,
it's not that good, no.
But there's like cool stuff, I guess, and it's very pop culture heavy, so I guess that's why people dig it. But as a movie, I was like, this is unintelligible.
No, it's pretty dumb and pretty bad, but I think just all of the culture around it, like Michael Jordan coming back to basketball, and the soundtrack being like huge, and I think that's probably it, actually. And the 90s were also just like a different time for movies. Like, you could have big cultural events like that, which were, in retrospect, pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we went through that pretty much every year in a different way. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I should actually mention this. The animation supervisors for Warner Brothers, one of them is named Spike Brandt, and you might remember him from directing a certain Tom and Jerry movie where they go to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Never heard of it, but go on.
Yeah. So he was...
Just wiped it from my memory.
He was very involved in this film.
That explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and also explains nothing about why that other movie was so poorly made.
Oh, God, that's funny.
The original Space Jam 2, they were going to make a sequel with Michael Jordan in it, and the Looney Tunes, of course, and they were going to face a new alien villain who is supposed to be voiced by Mel Brooks, called Berserko, who was designed by Bob Camp of Ren and Stimpy fame.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen because Michael Jordan was not interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he also kind of like stopped playing basketball probably around that time too. So it wouldn't have made any sense. So they had a bunch of other ones planned. There was one called Race Jam, which was stars a race car driver named Jeff Gordon. I don't know who this is. There's also going to be Spy Jam, which was to star Jackie Chan.
What?
Yeah, these are all things. Tony Hawk was going to be in Skate Jam.
That's right. I've heard of the mythical Skate Jam. I'm sad it never came to be.
And then Tiger Woods also.
Golf Jam?
We assume, Golf Jam, which starts to kind of like Race Jam makes sense because it rhymes with Space Jam. But the other ones...
Skate Jam, like if you muffle it, sounds like it rhymes.
Yeah. It's like a half rhyme kind of.
But Golf Jam or whatever, it gets pretty weak.
Spy Jam?
Quick.
Yeah.
Spy Jam. Also, why would it be called Spy Jam and it stars Jackie Chan?
Well, I think that they were just...
Why wouldn't they call it Chan Jam?
Or Space Chan?
Yeah, what are these people thinking? These are way better names.
I mean, yeah, you seem pretty aghast at the idea that the people who made Space Jam: A New Legacy are devoid of creative ideas. Or like good ideas, I guess.
I just still have optimism in this world, and I feel like, there's a lot of fun to be had, but it's not being had.
No, yeah, I mean...
I know these dumpster fires keep coming out.
The thing is, I wanted to do this movie for this podcast, and I insisted Bob watch the film because I have a morbid curiosity about the movie, or just anything like this, where it's just so cynical.
Yeah.
And so stupid, where it's like, if you don't know Space Jam 2, they go into the serververse, which is basically just the Warner Brothers, I guess, IP internet thing.
Yeah, like their servers.
Their data
where
servers.
They would keep old movies and stuff.
Yeah. And so the Looney Tunes just kind of, for like a good fifth of the film, are just bouncing between classic Warner Brothers owned properties in the dumbest kind of jokeless way. It's like, hey, remember The Matrix? Hey, Superman? We have that too.
Mm-hmm.
And Casablanca and Austin Powers. So anyway.
And lest we forget, George Miller's Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, Mad Max Fury Road, of course,
and
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of Game of Thrones in there too.
I love it. I love how stupid it is. I love that they're like, you know what is a good idea? Let's have Foghorn Leghorn riding a dragon from Game of Thrones and say, I say winter is coming. And it's like, that's as far as it went. It's like, yeah, first draft, this is good. Seven writers were like, yep, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, not all heroes wear capes. I'm just going to keep saying that.
Yeah, but some of the heroes featured in this film do.
Yeah, and some of them are also Looney Tunes characters.
That's correct, yeah.
Like, what's up with that? Kind of wild.
What's up with that, yeah. Have you ever wanted to see Daffy Duck dressed as Superman? Now you can.
No, but I'll watch it.
Have you wanted to see Lola Bunny pretending to be Wonder Woman? Now you can.
Do you think there's like a certain section of the furry community who really looks at this film with, lustful eyes?
No.
Okay.
I think well, I think it's because they're mad because a big controversy for this film, and it really goes to show how stupid our culture is now. Is that Lola Bunny was desexualized, like significantly.
And people are upset by that.
She still wears short shorts, but she doesn't like have like a weird arched back, and they don't have like weird shots where the camera is like focused on her butt.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and she doesn't just say sexual things a lot.
And all the incels are
entendres. Well, yeah, a bunch of people on the internet are mad because it's like, this isn't the Lola that I grew up with as a child. I need my anthropomorphic bunnies to be very sexual.
Hornier.
Yeah, I need them to make me horny.
I need to be 9 years old again, watching this on VHS in my basement, having a weird boner.
Exactly.
I'm watching a rabbit be all sexy and stuff.
Yeah, so I think people are, there's like, I assume a section of the furry community is mad about this. And
okay.
I mean, you would know.
Oh,
you're adjacent.
You're adjacent. Oh my God. Uh, wow, I really walked into that one, didn't I?
It's what I do.
You know what? Why wasn't Sonic in this movie?
I know. Well, I mean, he's not owned by Warner Brothers.
Who's he owned by? Sega?
Sega. I don't know who made the Sonic movie, but
probably Universal.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyways, I think the movie could have used Sonic. That's all I'm saying.
It wouldn't be worse if it had Sonic in it. I'll say that.
Wouldn't be worse. Wouldn't be better. It would be the exact same.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. What else? What else, Mike? What else about this dang movie?
So the development of the film with LeBron in it was started to come into fruition around 2014. So this has been in development for 7 years.
Wow. Another similarity, I guess, is that Infernal Affairs took quite a while to make as well. And the script took 3.5 years to write.
Oh, wow.
And then getting funding took forever as well because everybody thought it was too heady.
And there's also 2 sequels to it. So
it's a trilogy.
It's probably more than 7 years to make that story.
We'll say. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Very good.
Another little similarity. I'm just trying to pepper them in, you know?
So the film was shot by Salvatore Totino. I wonder if he's named after the delicious mini pizza snacks. I doubt it.
He is, yeah. He's part of that empire, yeah.
The empire, yeah. But the original cinematographer was to be Bradford Young.
I know, Bradford Young. I'm so sad he didn't shoot it, but I'm also glad he didn't because it's such a corporate sellout, bullshit movie. Yeah. And I think after Solo, Bradford Young was like, I gotta get away from these monster movies.
Yeah, and then also it'd be like, I can't really see bugs. It's too dark.
Yeah. I mean, I will say there are some dark scenes in this movie, lighting wise.
Oh, really?
In the server and stuff, there's some really, really underexposed images.
Yeah. Also, Kobe Bryant was on board at some point to direct the film. R.I.P. Kobe.
Yeah. So was his premature passing the reason he didn't direct it, or did he already opt out?
I'm not sure. Passed away? I think it was just there's so many people on attached that we'll say that's what we in the industry say. So many people was attached to direct at some point. Malcolm D. Lee, the actual director, was one of maybe 4 directors. It seems like who kind of came and went. So Kobe being attached at some point makes sense, and also would have been wild.
That would have been cool, yeah. I wonder what he would have done.
Yeah, so he wanted to direct it, but did not want to make a cameo, which seems like a weird thing, but whatever.
Wild.
You do
truly
you, Kobe.
Wild. Yeah.
Another fun fact, it was shot on this famous mansion in LA, the scenes of Kobe's house, but they basically just converted the tennis court in the backyard into a basketball court, and if you know that fact, you can really see it. It's that's clearly that's an awkward looking basketball court. Why is the ground blue like that, like a tennis court? And that's why.
Yeah, that's funny.
They should have done something just to make it look more like a basketball court, but I guess they just capped it there.
Well, they had a lot of money, so it's kind of wild they phoned it in on that specific detail, the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it was $150+ million or 170 something.
Where did that money go? I don't know.
I mean, just animating dozens and dozens of Warner Brothers properties in every single frame for an hour. Because the basketball
and a half.
Well, I mean, the basketball scene in the movie takes an hour.
Yeah, which is wild. I was looking at the time bar of the movie, and 30 minutes went by, and I was like, "Wow, not much has happened." And there was still a big chunk of the bar left, and I was like, "How long is this movie going to be?" And I thought it was pretty long. It's an hour and 51 minutes long.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. Nothing happens for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the scenes. Yeah, there's so much that. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. There was so one of the previous directors, they did film a scene with Pepe Le Pew. Oh, that's another controversy. Another controversy. Pepe Le Pew was originally supposed to be in it, and they did actually make a scene with Pepe Le Pew flirting with a bartender, but they deleted it because people were complaining that basically Pepe Le Pew got canceled because he's, I guess, sexually assaults people, which, yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But people are like, this character is irrelevant now, so why would we? This isn't funny to people anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
Like, although you love Pepe Le Pew, you have like a shirt on right now, and you say,
"Oh my god!"
You say, "This is just one of the Peppies I like."
God damn it!
You have a Pepe Le Pew shirt and a Pepe the Frog hat.
I feel like we
I don't know
should
why
change the name of the podcast to "The Roast of Bob" by Mike Robertson.
I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I do that.
I love it. You just make me seem like this really bizarro pervert.
You're you're a sexual deviant for sure.
Oh my god! You just keep making it worse. Why do I keep doing this every week?
I don't know. I guess that's the payment that I get for doing a podcast. It's because it doesn't pay the bills otherwise. So
I feel like the police are going to come knocking.
Well deserved, I'd say.
Oh, Jesus.
So anyway, Industrial Light and Magic was hired to make the visual effects for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the second time that ILM made visual effects with the Looney Tunes, the first time being Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
That's right.
So that's kind of cool. I actually thought that the CG rabbits, the CG Looney Tunes were cool. I thought that was a good choice.
I thought like the animation and the visual effects were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good stuff.
Yeah. This movie came out in the theaters and also on HBO Max.
That's right.
And I won't tell you how we watched it, but it was neither of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the big kind of selling point / stupid part about the movie, depending on who you are, is the references to other movies that Warner Brothers has cynically just placed into this film, not unlike Ready Player One.
Uh-huh.
So, they have like a long sequence where they go into Harry Potter, they go into the Game of Thrones, Mad Max Fury Road, The Matrix, Casablanca, Wizard of Oz, King Kong. So you see the King Kong in the movie, Iron Giant, Rick and Morty makes a cameo, Austin Powers.
Yeah.
There's a whole scene with Austin Powers, and then they have a couple of DC Universe characters.
I wonder if Mike Myers must be so pissed. All these people must be so pissed.
No, I bet Mike Myers is probably made a lot of money just from having this featured in his film.
But it's like owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he has some sort of deal.
Some royalty situation.
He probably makes like $1 on not every rental. That would be insane that they just pay him 1/12 of how much people, someone buying a movie ticket.
Yeah, that would be insanity. Yeah.
$1 of this goes to Mike Myers. But no,
for his 30-second cameo from something he filmed 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets like a very small fraction of every sale, like an extremely small one, but it adds up because they sell so many tickets to this.
Well, you know what? Here's another similarity between the two films. So in Infernal Affairs, there's that stereo scene where they're listening to music.
Right.
And one can only assume the music they're listening to is some sort of famous song.
Yes.
So it's a pop culture reference within the movie.
Yes.
And Space Jam: A New Legacy is just filled with pop culture references.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. Another similarity.
I also think that my read on Infernal Affairs was that it is kind of similar in that they are both kind of a blender of pop culture or a blender of pop culture or American cop movie tropes. Especially at the beginning of the movie, it seemed like it borrows a lot from just American cop movies.
Well, it does. And also there's a long tradition in Hong Kong cinema of police films.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a self-aware reference to those films and it's poking fun at them.
Yeah. While
also trying to be sort of a headier police espionage film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it is referencing just like Samurai Cop is.
Yeah. And Space Jam in some ways is a heady version of Ready Player One. Just because it has like this self-awareness, like this meta-ness to it that Ready Player One is lacking. So I think that it's like, it's like very postmodern, dare I say.
You just heard it here, folks. It's postmodern.
It's Kafka-esque.
Oh my God.
So anyway.
It's Kafka-esque.
So I will just quickly do a quick rundown or maybe not quick, of some of the Warner Brothers properties that you see in the
Take
film.
your sweet friggin' time.
So you see Pennywise from It.
Mm-hmm.
You see the Droogs from Clockwork Orange, which were included, but Pepe Le Pew was not, which is a thing a lot of people have pointed out.
Wild double standard.
Yeah, wild double standard. Like they, I would say, have done much worse than Pepe Le Pew. In terms,
most definitely.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But they're front and center for a lot of the movie too. Like a good hour of the movie, you see them pretty much every second shot during the basketball game. Pretty dumb. The Nun from the Devils, a film I haven't seen, so I just saw a nun in the background a lot, and I was like, who the hell is this? Must be something I haven't seen. That's true. Some of the Gremlins. Remember the Gremlins?
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, RoboCop, Yogi Bear, and his accomplice Boo Boo Bear. There's also Dick Dastardly, Muttley, and Penelope Pitstop from Wacky Races. The Flintstones, the Rubbles, some of Dinosaurs and the Great Gazoo from the Flintstones, Top Cat, Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, all them, and the Jetsons. Magilla Gorilla, something from the 50s, I assume. Jabberjaw, Captain Caveman, Igloo, Gloop and Gleep from Herculoids. Frankenstein Jr. and Buzz Conroy, Space Ghost, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot from the Animaniacs. Tony Soprano.
What?
Yeah, I guess he's there. I don't know. But also you can see that Warner Brothers clearly owns Hanna-Barbera's properties, and they just were like, let's put them all in there. That's like a couple of dozen characters right there. And they're like abusing those properties in this film, and they also did it in the Tom and Jerry movies, as we saw from Tom and Jerry Meet Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or whatever the hell that movie was called that we watched.
Oh yes, big time.
There's also Gandalf and Frodo and Gollum.
Yes.
King Kong, the Iron Giant, Lion-O and Cheetara from Thundercats, the Goonies, and then Baby Jane from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And
oh, weird.
That was just the ones that are listed on Wikipedia. I'm sure there's actually a full list somewhere, and I'm sure some nerd somewhere has I'm sure there's a forum somewhere that has everything.
Yeah, so, r/Space Jam 2.
Yeah.
Space Jam to be or not to be, a reference in the film.
So this is the bad film, in case people couldn't guess. We don't hold it in high esteem, and nobody really does. It's as of like maybe last week, it was 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sure it's worse now.
Mm-hmm.
They have been talking about making a third Space Jam movie after the supposed success of this one, which I think had a pretty good opening weekend, COVID-wise. I'm sure it would have done way better. And I don't know how the HBO Max stuff works, but I imagine that's a very profitable thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, they must be cleaning up.
Yeah. But anyway, they're talking about a third Space Jam movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Wow.
So it's going to take out basketball and put it in sport, or it's going to take out basketball and he's going to go back to professional wrestling, not just acting.
He was also a football player.
The Rock?
Yeah.
When?
Like in the late 90s.
I didn't know that.
Or mid 90s. Yeah, I believe he was on his way to being a professional football player.
In the XFL?
I don't know what. The league below the National League or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the XFL was run by Vince, what's his face from the WWE?
Vince Vaughn?
Vince McMahon. Yeah, I met Vince McMahon.
God, who haven't you met?
Well, I met him. I shook his hand briefly. I was working a WWE event at the arena here in town. I was just setting up with it for, part of an IATSE call.
Nice. That's great, man. Fuck, that's cool.
And I also did the suck it maneuver to Triple H. So, and nobody saw, thankfully. I was like, I have to do this. Even if I get fired for this, I have to do it. Anyway, that's all the Space Jam facts I have.
Okay, everyone, gear up, okay? Infernal Affairs, arguably less interesting than Space Jam: A New Legacy, I think, but whatever.
Agreed.
It's a great film. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you watch it. You don't need to watch Space Jam 2, but Infernal Affairs is great.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen The Departed, watch that. I think watch that first.
The Departed?
Or maybe not, I don't know. I just thought that I found Infernal Affairs a little bit confusing. because I didn't know any of the actors except for Tony Leung. So
yeah,
I was like, who are these people? What's going on again? And then only after aligning them with the American actors, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. This character is this character. This character is this character. So if you've seen The Departed, that really helps.
Yeah.
They don't explain it. They don't explain it in the same. They really explain the plot in the Departed, but in this movie, they don't really go into a whole lot of detail about anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, go on. Sorry.
No, that's a really good point, actually. That's a good observation. It is confusing. They leave a lot of gaps that you have to fill in as an audience member. I would say the same is true of Space Jam: A New Legacy. Anyways, Infernal Affairs, released in 2002, was made in Hong Kong, co-directed by Andrew Lau and Alan Mack. This was Andrew Lau's first film of the 21st century. People were very excited because he's like super duper famous. It was written by Felix Chong over 3 years and then revised by Alan Mack. The film has a lot of heavy hitters. So when they were trying to get funding for the film, one of the deals was because they felt that the script was a little too confusing and a little too artsy, that they'd have to just like jam pack it full of the most famous Hong Kong actors they could get, which is why, like, if you know anything about Hong Kong cinema, they got a lot of heavy hitters. And Andy Lau is one of them. Tony Leung, obviously. Anthony Wong, Eric Zhang, Sammy Cheng, and Kelly Chen, who are all, like, quite famous within, like, the Asian cinema market.
So why do you say Hong Kong cinema instead of Chinese cinema?
Because Hong Kong, there's sort of a separation, actually. There's part of the film is looked at critically as sort of a reference to the identity crisis or the duality of people in Hong Kong who, you know, are part of like the British monarchy or whatever, but also have this like Chinese identity, and there's like a real confusion there. And that's what this film is kind of representing within a police story.
Okay.
So, because Hong Kong was its own country for a long time.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, and like people from there's just like a real identity crisis there. And this film is kind of a reference about that.
Yeah, I remember in 97, actually, when it was kind of returned to China. I guess I don't know, returned is the right word, but
yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Anyways, that's why I say Hong Kong cinema, because I think it's sort of a separate thing. And actually, interestingly enough, there are two endings to the film, because the film was made in Hong Kong, released in Hong Kong, made a bunch of money there, did really well in Europe. But for it to play in mainland China, they had to make a separate ending for the film so that it could pass their censor board. And basically what happened was the original ending had the Andrew Lau character not getting caught or something. I don't know. It was different. Anyways, and then they felt that it like within their censor board, you couldn't allow any sort of depiction of like drugs or crime being done without any punishment for it.
Okay.
And then they had to like remake the ending so that it could fit within the mandate of the Chinese censor board. And so that's why, like, I think just like Hong Kong is such a different place from mainland China. Even when it comes to distribution, they're considered two different markets, which is interesting.
Interesting thing I just looked up.
Yeah.
China has banned Space Jam 2.
What?
So you can't.
I wonder why. Can you watch it in Hong Kong?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it just says Space Jam 2 has been carefully neutered to appeal to an apolitical global cinematic marketplace dominated by China, which is kind of true of most movies these days. But it's not going to come out in China for some reason.
Interesting. That's so interesting. That's so much money that they can't make now.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know. It's like China is like that's why they can make movies with these kind of ludicrously bad budgets where they're like, this is a bad idea, but only because we have, you know, billions of people on the other side of the world who will watch this kind of apolitical mess of a film. Then.
Yeah.
And also, in the same article, TMZ interviews the director of the original one, who does not care for the new one, and says it took him 5 sittings to finish watching Space Jam 2.
So interestingly enough, so the original director wasn't a huge fan of the new Space Jam, and the makers of Infernal Affairs are not a huge fan of The Departed.
Well,
they feel that it was oversimplified and Hollywoodized to the extent that all the stuff that made it really cool basically was taken out of the American version. And they thought that there are things worth seeing and the film should be seen, but it's not as good as the original. So I guess that's another similarity right there. Who the heck knew, huh?
Yeah. There's
pretty crazy. On that note, critically, the film was received very, very well by most reviewers, and they thought it was a really like fun, intellectual sort of experiment to deal with the police genre or the crime suspense genre. And then it was eventually turned into a trilogy after the success of the first film. The other interesting thing is, so it was submitted as Hong Kong's entry into the Oscars, but it was never nominated. And then The Departed won Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay in 2006 when that film came out.
That's funny.
That's got to be a real sore spot because they even tried to get it into the Oscars as Best Foreign Film, and it wasn't even nominated.
Well, lest we forget, the Oscars famously has a bad track record with all that stuff, to the point where I think, was it this might have been the Golden Globes, but Minari was like nominated for Best Foreign Film or non-English language something or other.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, this was made in the States.
Yeah.
They just don't speak English in the entire film.
The Oscars are stupid.
Yes.
That's the truth. Anywho, so yeah. And Infernal Affairs is sort of like I said before, it's sort of an expression of like Hong Kong, the people of Hong Kong and their identity crisis because they've been sort of colonized by Britain and become part of the monarchy, but they're originally from China, and it was like a Chinese place, and so there's this duality that's caused. And then basically the plot of the film is that there's this duality because these two characters are put in a situation where they can't be themselves but have to behave as though they are in that role. So like Andy Lau as the police officer and Tony Leung as the criminal, but they're actually doing each other's jobs. It's just kind of this interesting, complicated duality. But the other thing that this film explores is a sort of a Buddhist concept, which is there are different states of hell, and this film kind of explores two of them. So I'm going to read some quotes, and then we can chat about. Well, the film opens with a quote. So this is.
And does it not end with a quote too?
It does, yeah. So it opens with a Buddhist classic Nirvana Sutra verse stating that the worst of the 8 hells is called continuous hell. It has the meaning of continuous suffering, thus the name. The film also closes with another quote from Buddha stating that he who is in continuous hell never dies. Longevity is a big hardship in continuous hell. And it's like basically like in that sense, you can never be reincarnated and you'll sort of interminably suffer. And basically these two characters are facing that within their roles that they have in the film.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't know, it's like a cool thing. But also maybe another similarity between the two films is Space Jam 2 kind of feels like a continuous hell.
Yeah.
Even though it's over, we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
And these characters go through continuous hell.
There's some similarities there for sure, in that there's two worlds. You know, there's the animated world or the server world, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the real world. And and it's once you go into the animated world, it's basically just like a hell where just all of these dead kind of outdated properties are existing, and it just goes on forever.
What, like, to piggyback onto that, both films have a character in a place where they shouldn't be doing something they shouldn't do, but they have to do it in order to get out of it.
Yeah. So LeBron even becomes a toon, and he's basically he's kind of undercover as a toon, you could say.
They also both films have a main character who have to play, in quotes, the game.
Yes, that's right.
Right. So Tony Leung is playing the game of being a criminal and being a part of a triad gang, but he isn't a criminal. He's a police officer. But then his identity sort of gets blurry as the film goes on.
Yeah.
And he's like being threatened to be forgotten about. And I'd say the same is true of LeBron James.
That's right, yeah.
Because by the end, he's really digging the tunes. He loves being loony. He's less about the fundamentals. And you know what? I think he gets a little confused about the things that brought him all this success. He kind of has to throw away.
Yeah, he's obsessed with the fundamentals.
He becomes a Looney Tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves fundamentals.
Yeah, you're right. He does enjoy being loony for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he really changes, and then it's like, LeBron, you've changed. Who are you, man?
Also, his identity becomes blurred not only just as a human or as a basketball player, but then also as a father.
That's right.
Because in the eyes of his son, his identity is constantly shifting.
Oh my God, yeah. And another thing that's similar between the two films is that the antagonism feels arbitrary.
Okay.
Like the criminal machine in Infernal Affairs is not like inspired by any sort of personal vendetta or anything. There's just crime in Hong Kong, and that just is what it is. But then these two characters play the game of switching sides and being moles and trying to find each other. Yeah. And the same is true of like Don Cheadle just is the bad guy for some reason.
Yeah.
And really wants to win, but it's never really explained why, and you don't care.
Yeah, the more you think about it, the more pointless it feels like it is for both movies. Like you don't need to analyze these bad guys' motivation. It's like they're just bad guys or they're criminals, and it's just it
is what it is. And the point of the film, I think another similarity is that the point of the film isn't the plot. It's not about crime. It's not about stopping crime. It's about putting these two characters in each other's shoes and forcing them to be who they aren't.
Yeah.
And like that's the point, and everything else is to service that. And in Space Jam 2, the only reason the film exists is to slam as much IP into a basketball movie as possible.
Yeah.
And it's not even about basketball. It's about the IP surrounding the basketball.
Yeah.
Right? Like the reason they made it was so that they could show the Droogs in the audience, or the Matrix agent, or King Kong crossing his arms being all upset.
Yeah,
you know?
It would have been fine if it was just, we're going to do Space Jam, but this time with LeBron, and they didn't feel like they had to throw in all of the pop culture stuff. If it was literally just, some other alien decides to do something involving a basketball game, because the plot of the original one is really dumb. It's just like, we're building a theme park. Let's get Michael Jordan here. And it's like, yeah, that's enough. I don't need to think about this anymore. This movie, they spend like half an hour trying to explain what's going on.
Yeah.
And the more they explain it, the stupider it gets. And
simplicity
it's just the best. The same stupid movie kind of, but they just overcomplicate the plot. They have put way too much emotional stakes for LeBron, which is, I guess, something that they didn't really have in the original one. Michael Jordan was just kind of like there and stuff was happening around him.
It was kind of touching and interesting that they chose like fatherhood as this like central theme of conflict for him.
It was kind of interesting.
He needed to learn to become, a different father from how he was raised. And it was interesting. I was like, that's kind of a wild take. Like,
yeah, unnecessary, but draft. I guess it's good that they did that because it gave you something to, if you decided you needed to feel some sort of emotion while watching this, it gave you that something to attach to, I guess.
Most definitely, yeah. I found that really intriguing and interesting, and I wonder which draft they added that in. Because the first draft would have been like, okay, LeBron's in the movie, right? Bugs Bunny's in the movie. The Droogs are in the background of every single shot, okay?
Those are the first three things they decide on.
Yeah.
Got to get those Droogs in there.
And then they figured everything else out in subsequent drafts. But yeah, I thought it was so interesting. And the whole arc of being like, you just have to have fun, LeBron. And he's like, wow.
Well, I mean, going back to the thing about fathers, in Infernal Affairs, there's a surrogate father relationship between like whoever is the chief of the cops and Tony Leung's character. No, wait, Andy Lau's character. And DP Wong, that one, the police chief guy who dies. Guy? No, the police chief guy who dies.
Oh, right. And Tony Leung. Yeah.
And
Andy like a father-son relationship.
Yeah, and Andy Lau is like, he would have wanted it this way, even though he's, an undercover bad guy. He still kind of like has this like father relationship. And the same with Tony Leung on the triad side. He's like, he kind of has a father relationship with the crime lord, who I guess is
the bald guy.
Yeah, the Jack Nicholson of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Also, characters in both movies, have to assume other identities and wear costumes, both in the sense of like, you're a cop, now you're a criminal. You have to like wear that costume and assume that role. But then also in Space Jam, the Looney Tunes themselves will like wear costumes when they're in different worlds. So You know, they're dressed like a Mad Max character, or they're dressed like the Matrix. You have Speedy Gonzalez dressed as Neo for some reason, or Morpheus, or whatever the hell. Also, all of the background characters from all of the other IP, they're clearly just wearing Halloween costumes. So the mask looks like the mask, but doesn't look like the mask, if you know what I mean.
Like a knockoff.
It looks like a knockoff of the mask. Same with they couldn't get like photo accurate versions of the original costumes for some reason, it seems like, for this movie. So everything is just like a slightly kind of off version of that character in the background.
Yeah, that's great. It's so, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that, actually.
What's that?
Just how they both have to like dress up and play roles in both movies.
Yeah.
And pretend to be somebody they're not.
Yeah, so some random actor in LA is pretending to be Pennywise in the background of a basketball game with the Looney Tunes.
You know that's going on their resume.
Oh, of course, yeah. And that
played Pennywise in quotes in BG of Space Jam: A New Legacy.
And the funny part about that stuff is they were clearly on a loop, so you could see just like they had like a couple of seconds of footage that they just looped constantly for like large chunks of it. And then there'd be some parts where you would actually, for whatever reason, these characters would be in focus, even though they were in the distant background. And so the whole thing is just a visual mess, and it's really distracting trying to figure out what you're supposed to be looking at any time. Because you want to look at Pennywise, even though he's not doing a whole lot. And then that actor, especially for Pennywise, he was really like, he was going to town. It's like whoever was the, assistant director, the AD, whoever was the AD was not like given the background like enough direction to just like, please just chill out, just kind of do repetitive motion. You're not the focus here, because the Pennywise guy.
But then they are the focus.
Well, I mean, they are the focus.
Literally. Yeah. Like,
it's hard to not look at them.
That's so weird. I agree. All the stands, like, they're just all the audiences and stuff were so distracting.
Yeah. And some of them were really just trying to grab your attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Both films have a character searching for another character and have no idea where they are. So once LeBron and his son go missing, the third guy who is there is freaking out and trying to find him while he's on the Warner Brothers lot, and nobody's helping him. The two characters in Infernal Affairs are hunting each other down, but they don't know what they look like, they don't know where they are, and they don't know how to find them. But they're enemies.
Is that all you got for Infernal Affairs?
Yeah, that's basically all the info I have.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Short and sweet. There's honestly not a lot written about it.
Strange, because it's so influential.
I know. It's like deemed one of the best Hong Kong films ever made, and it was a huge deal. It didn't make very much money, interestingly, but also its distribution was pretty limited. And I'm kind of shocked it didn't do anything at the Oscars.
Yeah, but also I guess it did at some point. So there we go. With because Marty they needed to give Marty his award finally.
Yeah,
and I call him Marty
because you're friends. You know each other.
It's weird when you call him Marty at first, but then you get used to it and kind of he is Marty. That's who he is.
Hey, Marty.
Let's go through the remaining similarities we have. I mean, we already kind of talked about how it's two characters kind of trapped between two worlds. And it's specifically like a battle between two men, like Don Cheadle and LeBron James are at battling. Yeah, the Serververse guy, whatever Don Cheadle's character's name is. Oh yeah, Algae Rhythm.
Yeah, what a name.
Yeah. Which also I wanted to point out, it's so weird that Warner Brothers is like, this is the computer that's in charge of all of our IP. So basically, like, Warner Brothers is the bad guy in this movie. Yeah.
I also like that the like bad guy is AI trying to write a screenplay and then it being rejected, and then it basically just ruins it for everyone.
Yeah.
So it's like Terminator.
Yeah.
Terminator was just at home writing a screenplay, or like at a second cut writing a screenplay, and then, he submitted it to some film festivals, and they were like, Terminator, this is really bad. You're a terrible screenwriter. And he's like, you know what? I've had it. And then he took over the world. All the skeletons came out.
Also, it's funny that you bring up screenwriting because, both movies feature a character who is like basically doing a very on-the-nose meta story of the movie you're watching, because the one character, Andy Lau's girlfriend, wife character, whoever that is, love interest, she is a writer and she's constantly talking about, I'm trying to figure out the story I'm writing, and the character, he's a good guy, maybe he's a bad guy, and she's just really on the nose pointing out what is happening in the movie you're watching. Arguably the worst part of the film. That
I agree.
Very pointless thing where there's like, it was like, we get what's going on. We don't need this extra text of the subtext. And similarly, it's like funny how in Space Jam, they're like, this algorithm wrote this script, and everybody's like, it's a bad script. And then you watch that movie like in real life. That's what Space Jam 2 is. It's that bad script as a movie. And they pointed out in the movie.
Rhythm is algorithm.
Yeah, did you not get that?
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't. Well, okay, I guess I can piggyback off of what you just said with this thing. Both films utilize or exploit tropes to make the film cooler.
Yes.
So, like, Infernal Affairs does a really good job of subverting police tropes.
Yes.
To make this, like, really interesting, hip, like, intellectual sort of spy police espionage movie. And they do it with great success. And then in Space Jam: A New Legacy, they also use classic tropes of the Looney Tunes world, of all the IP within the Warner Brothers catalog, I guess. But they use it and it just doesn't work. But it's in an attempt to like make it a more interesting film. Both
movies have someone's identity getting erased on a computer.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or there's an attempt, I guess, for someone's identity to get erased on a computer.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you haven't seen Infernal Affairs, I guess it's been almost 20 years. Yeah, that's what happens at the end when Andy Lau erases Tony Leung's character off of the computer.
That's right.
And, you know, the algorithm is trying to erase the identity of LeBron James as a father in some ways. Or out of some sort of revenge.
For what? I don't know. Oh, because he says his movie sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so funny.
And then we're forced to watch that film. And nobody pointed that out to anybody working on this, unless they were all aware that was the bit.
I think everyone knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
they were like, let's phone it in, guys. Let's all just phone it in.
Also, another technology-based similarity is cell phones are very central to the plot.
That's right. That's right.
Because LeBron's son has like a scanner on his phone, and you can just scan people into the serververse, I guess.
I would also say the cell phones age the films.
Yes, also that too, yeah.
So the cell phones really age Infernal Affairs. It's like, ooh, like, is this the 90s? What year is this? And then the cell phones are like so futuristic in Space Jam. You're like, is it like 2040? What's the year?
Yeah. The cell phone scene in Infernal Affairs is like an iconic scene.
It is
the scene where he's on the bus and he gets the phone call, and they talked for the first time, the two moles.
Yeah.
But I swear I haven't seen The Departed since it came out, but I swear that scene, like, they actually talk to each other for a while. They have like a little conversation. This one, they have like they say like maybe 10 words to each other. Which one did you like better?
I liked Infernal Affairs more.
Just because they didn't need to like spell everything out so much?
Yeah, it was like more, it was like harder to watch.
Yeah.
And therefore more compelling, I think.
Yeah.
I have another similarity that just popped up though.
Okay.
So there are references to moles in both films, okay?
Okay.
Hear me out.
I mean, I have no choice.
Infernal Affairs, they're obviously two moles and they're trying to find each other.
Yes.
And then when they do see each other, they yell, "Moly, moly, 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 moly."
Oh, my God.
And there's a quick reference to Austin Powers.
Oh, my God.
In Space Jam: A New Legacy. And if you remember from the trilogy, there is a scene where there's a character with a mole, and Austin Powers loses it and says, "Moly, moly, 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 mole."
Yeah, that's right. There's two trilogies involving moles. Somehow related to Space Jam and Infernal Affairs. Wow, brilliant. I
think that might be the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, you should be extremely proud of yourself just for that in terms of your entire life.
I am elated. I can die happy now.
It's all been leading up to this.
This one is really good, so buckle up.
Save it best for last.
Both films take place over some sort of period of time, and we don't know how long it is.
Go on. That was very vague.
Yeah. Infernal Affairs takes place over how long, Mike? Do you even know? What's your guess?
Including flashbacks?
Yeah.
25 years.
Okay, how about excluding flashbacks?
10 years?
That's crazy.
Or maybe it's a week. I can't tell.
It's a week or it's 10 years. Nobody knows. And then in the Space Jam world, I guess you could argue maybe it takes place over one day, or it takes weeks.
Well, who knows how time works in Toon World?
Well, exactly. Is it like Inception, where the time gets drawn out, is like tripled or whatever in each new world?
There's no way to know.
Because like basically what could have happened was in the serververse, everything could have happened in like 15 minutes in real time.
Oh, actually, you know what? This one, I'm going to deconstruct yours here.
I already know what you're going to say, but okay, go ahead.
There's literally a clock in the film that ticks down telling LeBron James how much time he has.
In serververse time.
Okay, yeah. But serververse time, why would it work differently?
Ones and zeros, man. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, okay, fine. Also, there's no reason for me to deconstruct what you're saying.
No, I can deconstruct my own one, because when's the basketball camp and the computer camp? It's like a week later or something, because that's when the movie ends.
Yeah, right.
I guess it, it's tough. That's a tough one. Time is really morphed in both films, because the hour it takes to build the team takes way less than an hour in the movie. And then the game takes place over however long, 44 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like over an hour.
Yeah, right.
So time's all fucky in both movies,
your point stands. Yeah, it's very screwy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, anyways, that was my last one. Really went on a journey there with you, Mike. Thanks for hitching a ride on the Polar Express.
The thing is, we are probably the only two people, screenwriters of the film included and directors of the film included, who thought about the time.
Yeah.
Like the way that time is represented in Space Jam, or just like how long any of this is happening.
Well, the other thing to think about too is like, does the IP age? Like the Droogs should be like old men with beards, and King Kong should have gray hair.
It appears that they're all kind of trapped in some sort of purgatory.
Exactly. So that means there is no time. And
so, and given that the word infernal refers to a kind of like hell or underworld like state.
Yeah. Which is also a purgatory, or the constant hell, also known as purgatory.
So there you go. Space Jam is literally about infernal affairs.
Yeah.
Just being a basketball game with characters that don't age in the background.
How crazy would it be if in the audience of Space Jam, there was just Tony Leung and Andy Chow.
Oh, I would love it.
Andy Lau just like sitting together in their suits and their like 2002 clothing.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
There is a couple of characters in the film that I saw on the internet. People were like, who the hell is this character? They'd point out some guy in the background. He'd be wearing this very specific thing. And it's like, they're like, I think it's like Harry Anderson from the TV show Night Court. We're not sure. Like,
oh my God, that's so vague.
Some of the costumes were so kind of weird, and like their character references were so specific. It's like, who the hell is this character? Is it Tim Robbins in the Hudsucker Proxy? Like, who is this? And why is he in this movie? And yeah.
That's great. What a fun, like, it's just like a puzzle that will be solved over decades. Because there's probably no master list on the internet.
No.
Like Warner Brothers hasn't released anything.
Someone's definitely putting it together, though. I'm sure there's a fan curated one, because some people are like, I love this one thing, this one pop culture thing that I saw when I was a kid defines my identity as an adult. And I spend all my day on the internet. And so there's got to be at least one person making this list. What?
Not all heroes wear capes.
That's true. Yeah. You always say that.
That person is a hero.
Yeah, that's true.
What's your last one, Mike?
In both films, there is a love interest, like a woman who's a love interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another woman who is a wife figure, I guess. Yeah, wife is what I meant. So the one character is like a love interest and one's a wife. And there's only like basically three women in both films. In Infernal Affairs, there's literally only two, I think. And in Space Jam, I think, if you don't count like some of the, Sarah Silverman's cameos, there's literally only two female Looney Tunes, Granny and Lola Bunny. So you have like the old woman and the sexy one.
Yeah.
And then the only other female character is LeBron's wife, who just only ever talks about being a mom. So
yeah,
not great gender politics in these films for sure, both of them.
No. Well, also the daughter, like their daughter is just never mentioned or referenced. She's just in the shots.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's being held. Yeah.
The thing is, there would have been more women in Space Jam too if Pepe Le Pew was in it, because he would need more people to hit on, which is kind of also kind of effed up. So
yeah, that's so weird. That's fucking weird, man.
Yeah. And then here's a massive spoiler for both films. I mean, if you've seen The Departed, then you know what happens in Infernal Affairs, but I'm going to just spoil both movies. So if you haven't seen Space Jam 2 and want to see it, and don't want the ending spoiled for you, stop listening now. Mm-hmm. Same with Infernal Affairs. If you don't want to have your ending spoiled for this 20-year-old movie that has been an American remake that you've probably seen, stop listening now as well. So at the end of both movies, one hero character dies unnecessarily.
That's right.
Where they shoot Tony Leung's character in the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Space Jam, they kill off Bugs Bunny for some stupid reason. He dies, and he has like a scene where he's dying in Lola Bunny's arms, and everybody's crying. Like all the Looney Tunes are crying. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing?
That was insane.
It was insane, yeah. And it's like, why are you killing off Bugs Bunny in Space Jam 2? This like cynical movie with all these pop culture characters in the background, and like Bugs is like pretty dour the entire film anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really make any jokes. He kind of just explains how the server works to LeBron James, and then he plays basketball. He really doesn't really ever say anything funny. And like Bugs Bunny, when he's on, he's freaking on. He's a funny character.
Totally, you love Bugs Bunny.
I actually think Bugs Bunny, like, it cracks me up to think of him saying "What's up, Doc."
Mm-hmm.
When he says "What's up, Doc" in the right context, it's like, that's actually really funny. Like, that's like such a specific thing. It like spells out Bugs Bunny's attitude, and who that character is. Just that one phrase, like
he's altruistic. He kills himself for the greater good,
and he's like,
and also famously unkillable.
Yeah, also that too.
All the Looney Tunes are literally indestructible.
Yeah, and I mean, another big spoiler is Bugs comes back because it's like he says it as much at the end. He's like, "Yeah, I'm unkillable. I'm a friggin' tune. Like, what did you think was going to happen?" But then it was like, "Well, why did you put it in the first place?" It really kind of shows that the people who wrote the movie had like no sense of what doing something like that meant. Like they're just like, let's just do this, and they had no idea how to handle like the emotional stakes of that, or like why that was a thing to do. And they also had no sense of just how earned it was. Like it was completely unearned, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, why would Bugs Bunny die at a basketball game? Also, of all the places you're going to kill off this like unkillable rabbit, why at this friggin' basketball game in a computer?
Man, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably more than anybody should have said about that particular scene. That was like a good minute and a half. And then they just kind of like glaze over it the rest of the film. It's like, oh wow, they killed off this main character.
Mm-hmm.
And then you forget about it, and then Bugs comes back, and you're like, oh yeah, right, he died.
Mm-hmm.
That was stupid.
Super stupid.
Yeah, but I had to watch this film.
I'm glad you made me watch it, because I would have just never seen it.
Did you enjoy this better than Ready Player One in terms of cynical, like cash cow? IP,
I think I did.
Like orgies? Okay.
I think so. I think it was more fun. And also, like, I'm getting into basketball, and it's fun to just watch LeBron James be bad at acting for 2 hours. Yeah. And see him, like, try really hard, But he's so stiff. Did
you get any of the LeBron jokes in the movie?
No.
Because they had a couple of, like, digs at LeBron.
Yeah. Well, he's like one of them. It's really interesting. People kind of hate him because he's so good.
Yeah.
But he is really fucking good.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I wish there was a shot at him because he's terrible at free throws.
Oh, really?
I wish they referenced that. But also, I bet he had like final say on the insults they could chuck his way.
Yeah, yeah. You know that it's become a meme now. You know that picture of LeBron with his like two hands out and he's like getting mad at someone. You know that?
Yeah,
yeah. I'm surprised they didn't reference that. That should have been something.
I agree.
I think there's a couple of shots in the movie where it's like literally a visual reference to a specific photo, and it's the Looney Tunes doing the things that LeBron did. I'm not a basketball fan, so I couldn't tell you what any of these are, but I saw someone do a breakdown of it on Twitter, and I was like, wow, some people are both sports fans and Looney Tunes fans and are able to like draw these connections very quickly. Like this movie hasn't even been out for 2 weeks. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so weirdly.
Well, great. I think that's it. I think we fucking did it. They're the same movie.
I think we did figure out that these are the same movie. More so than I expected. Because when I was watching Infernal Affairs, I was like, this was a mistake. But no, we actually did it. We figured it out. We solved the puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. This, like I always say, this feels over.
Classic. That's your what's up, Doc.
Well, this is so depressing. Over. This feels over. Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed. Watch Infernal Affairs. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Feel free to watch if you're into cringe cinema, exploitation. You should watch Space Jam.
Yeah, Warner Brothers posting cringe yet again.
They're really good at it.
They truly are. Yeah.
Well, see you, everybody.
Bye.